Okie dokie. So we talked about the point slope form. No, the slope intercept form. Now we're going to talk about the point slope form. Different form of an equation of a line. And I just want to remind you of what that looks like. The slope intercept form looks like this, where the equation is solved for y and you can identify the slope and the y-intercept. The point slope form looks like this. Oops. So there's interesting things to note about this. It includes the point x1, y1. All right, so x1, when they have a little subscript like that, that stands for a specific number. If it's just y or x, then that's the generic variable. And it has the slope. So it has the slope and a point, so it's called the point slope form. The other thing to notice about this is that these guys are both minuses in this form, so you need to pay attention to that. All right, so this one says find a point on the line and the slope of the line. So this sort of looks like this format, right? Let's try to make it look exactly like this. How can I write y plus 2 as y minus something? Well, y minus negative 2, right? Because y minus negative 2 is y plus 2. And this looks like, how can I make this look like this? Well, 2 is the slope. And how do I make x look like x minus something? Well, x minus 0, right? X minus 0 is just x. So this tells me that my slope is 2, and my point here is 0, negative 2. All right, so we're going to do this multiple times, so hopefully you will get it, because it's a little tricky at first, but you just want to change the form of the equation so that it fits the point slope form that you're looking for. All right, step 2 is start the graph by plotting a point on the line. Well, the point that we found was 0, negative 2, so let's plot that point right there, 0, negative 2. And then step 3 is probably going to be to use that slope from 0, negative 2. We want to go up 2 and to the right 1. So from 0, negative 2, we want to go up 2 and to the right 1. There we go. All right, the slope is 4 and the ordered pair is 0, negative 1. So we want to do a little work on this to make sure that we write it in simplest form. But remember, our generic form looks like this. All right, so m is 4, x1 is 0, and y1 is negative 1. So this is going to be y minus negative 1. M is 4, x minus 0. And then we just need to simplify this. So this y minus negative 1 simplifies to y plus 1. And x minus 0 simplifies to x. And they want this equation, the one that we write, in slope-intercept form. So they want it to look like this, right? So we need to solve this equation so that for y, so that it's in that format. So that's super easy, just minus 1, y equals 4x minus 1. Now, what I want to point out to you is that if we had paid attention, taken a minute to look at that first, we would not have even had to go through all that, right? Because the slope is 4, so we knew that was 4. And the y-intercept was given to us here. It just said ordered pair, but if we look at that, that's the y-intercept because x is 0. So that would be your negative 1 there. So I could have gone straight to y equals 4x minus 1 if I'd taken the time to pay attention. But if you don't notice that, you can just work through it like this. Y equals 4x minus 1. Alrighty. now now that I learned, I've given the slope and I'm given a specific ordered pair that has 0 as the x-coordinate, so that's my y-intercept. So y is going to equal negative 2/5 x and then plus 1/4. So that is not that hard to do once I notice it. Now, this one is different because it is not the y-intercept here, but it is special because the slope is 0. So if you remember, that means it's a horizontal line, okay, which means your x can slide, but your y is not sliding. So your y is fixed at whatever this number is. So that's super easy, just y equals 5. All right, this one is different because it's not a slope of 0 or undefined or anything. So we are going to actually have to do this the way I did that first one, plug all that information into here. And you have to memorize this formula. This is not on your formula sheet, so you need to get used to rewriting it. So I'm going to have y minus that y coordinate equals m times x minus that x coordinate. And then I'm going to simplify and put it in slope-intercept form. In other words, solve for y. So y minus 4, I've got to first simplify this to x plus 4, then distribute, then add 4 to both sides. Y equals 3x plus 16. All right, slope is 0. So remember, that's a horizontal line. So my x is sliding back and forth, but my y is fixed. Where is my y fixed? At negative 5. All right, so now this one's a little different because we need to use those 2 points to find the slope. And then there's 2 different ways to find the y-intercept, right? Because we need it to be in slope-intercept form. I'll do it both ways. Slope is going to be 3 minus 1 over 5 minus 4. So 2. And I can plug it straight into this. I can pick either point. I'll just pick that first point. So y minus 3 equals slope times x minus 5. And now I can simplify this. This is just your basic algebra. Let's see, I'm adding 3, so that'll be a minus 7. That's probably the quickest and easiest way to do that, but let me show you the other way to do that. I know that I am going to want it to look like this, right? And I've got m right here, and I can pick this point, and I've got an x and a y. So I can solve for b if I plug all that in. So instead of y, I'm going to plug in 3. Instead of m, I'm going to plug in 2. Instead of x, I'm going to plug in 5, and I'm solving for b. So 3 equals 10 plus b minus 10 minus 10. So negative 7 is b. Okay? Because as soon as I know m is 2, I know it's going to look like this. Right? Positive 2. And I just need to find out what that is. So there's 2 ways to do it. You can plug one of those points in your slope into your point slope form. Or you can plug your slope and one of those points into your slope-intercept form and solve for b and then put it back in that form. So that's going to be up to you. I probably for the rest of this video will use this method because that's the one that we're focusing on for this section. All right, 2x minus 7. Where are we at? 9:45. All right, we might get it all done. All right, so let's do this one. So slope is 1/5. So y equals 1/5 x plus something, right? Because they want it in that slope-intercept form. So I could go ahead and type that in and wait to fill this part in. So this one is where it probably is easier. Well, it's either way. Let's do it the way I said I would do it. So y minus -1 equals m times x minus x1. So y plus 1, I got to distribute. You can't multiply 1/5 times 4 and get 4/5. You need to review unit 1. Now, I got to do this, okay? You can use your calculator, our TI 30x2s that we use in our MTT classrooms will do that for you. But it's really easy to do it as long as you understand fractions. I'm doing -4/5 minus 1. So I need a common denominator. So I'll write it like that, right? And 5/5 is 1. -4 minus 5 is -9. So that's my answer. All right, 1/5 x minus 9/5. Wait a second. 1/5 x. Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. I thought I had forgotten to go back. 1/5 x minus 9/5. All right, they give me a formula. I jump to the end to see that. A equals mp plus b. So that looks a lot like y equals mx plus b. Okay, so in this case, I think my x, I can think of my x as my p. So x is this lowercase p and y is my capital A. Okay. And lowercase p is price and A is going to be your admission, your attendance, sorry. Okay. So our 2 points, so x, y, our points look like this. So 1 point is at $11, our attendance was 1,400. And the other point is at $6, we got more people to come. Okay, so I can find the slope with those 2 points. So my slope is 2450 minus 1,400 over 6 minus 11. 2450 minus 1,400. I don't want to make a mistake like I did before. 2450 minus 1,400 is 1050 over -5. So that reduces to -210. So that's my slope. Whoops, I don't need to use y, I need to use capital A. And then instead of x, I'm going to use lowercase p. Now I got to figure out what my b is, right? And there's 2 ways to do it, but I'm going to stick with the first way. So y, and I'm just going to pick this point, y minus 1,400 equals slope times x minus 11. So y minus 1,400 equals -210x plus 210 times 11, 2310, plus 1,400 to both sides. Y equals -210x plus 3710. So I've got to remember that when I go to the next page. -210p and 3710. All right, we're about to run out of time. Same thing here. Fortunately, this is not anything new, but I will do it. That's probably all we'll have time for. Y minus 3 equals -3/5 times x minus 2. I'm just plugging that data into this. So y, and then I simplify. Negative 3/5 x